In my previous life, I broke off our engagement during the Chen clan's exile and married another. Little did I know that 10 years later, Chen Jingyan would rise to become the chief minister of the court. I ended up as a discarded merchant's daughter, selling wine by the street. What I never imagined was that as I lay dying, it was Chen Jingyan who claimed my body. Reborn, I burned the forged letter of accusation. Yet Chen Jingyan went mad. Dressed in wedding robes, he blocked my escape with a smile. Zhi Zhi, this lifetime you can only be my wife. Every maiden in the capital envied my good fortune. First resentment, my elder sister-in-law found an injured nobleman by the river, transforming from a lowly merchant's daughter into an imperial consort. I was still selling bean curd on the street when, overnight, I gained wealth beyond measure and was granted the title of county princess. Second, I resented being betrothed to Chen Jingyan, the renowned scholar gentleman from the capital's esteemed family. As handsome as Panin and brilliant beyond measure, had his grandfather not restrained him to temper his temperament, the title of top scholar would have been his for the taking. How could such a man be betrothed to someone like me, who possessed nothing but beauty? What a waste of such a gem! At the banquet, the ladies offered their mixed congratulations on my leap over the dragon gate, yet I couldn't muster a single smile. For the moment I stepped into that feast, I was reborn. In my past life, I placed a love letter, written by another, in Chen Jingyan's study. Unbeknownst to me, it was mistaken for a treasonous secret missive, leading to the entire Chen clan being confiscated and exiled. Before the imperial decree of confiscation arrived, I was summoned to the palace. Outside the hall, a young palace maid who had erred was pinned down. Her piercing screams made the teacup in my hand clatter. The emperor sat enthroned in the hall of brightness. 12 layers of jade veils obscured his face, leaving only a faint, ambiguous smile at the corners of his mouth. Lady, do you understand? I understood. On the day Chen Jingyan was exiled, my betrothal was dissolved, and I was married to my cousin. But my cousin perished in a palace coup. My second husband, a minor official, collapsed from overwork while in office. In the end, I met an untimely death, and it was Chen Jingyan who collected my remains. The harder I tried, the more misfortune befell me. The gentleman in the moon-white robe handed me a round fan, his voice cool and detached. The sun is strong. Perhaps you should seek shade in the pavilion. To be fair, Chen Jingyan was an exemplary fiancé. He brought me prestige in public and was considerate and upright in private. Except for not loving me, everything else was perfect. I shouldn't have been so heartless in my past life. I squeezed the secret letter in my bosom, a pang of bitterness welling in my heart. Given another chance at life, I would help him evade this calamity. Then set him free. The faint clang of weapons echoed outside. Chen Jingyan's expression darkened. He pulled me into the rockery. His cool fingers traced my neck as he laughed, a smile both seductive and mad. Why are you trembling, my lady? I pinched my thigh hard, forcing myself to appear composed. Hee, just a little weak in the knees from standing too long. Heaven forbid! Chen Jingyan's demeanor was identical to that of the man who rose to become the chief minister in my previous life. I patted my chest. It must have been a mistake. In my past life, though I secretly bribed officials with silver, the Chen clan still lost nearly half its members. After returning from Ningguda, Chen Jingyan climbed the ranks recklessly, taking on tasks others dared not touch. Behind his back, the elders called him Mad Dog Chen. But now the Chen clan was intact. What madness was this? Chen Jingyan seized my wrist, a faint smile playing on his lips. Why are you patting me, young lady? This is improper. Oh, so I'd been patting Chen Jingyan's chest. No wonder it felt so soft and supple. I gave an awkward laugh. We're betrothed. What's yours is mine. A sharp command cut through my thoughts, Imperial Guard searching. Everyone stay put. My trembling intensified. The treason charge was baseless, otherwise, Chen Jingyan wouldn't have risen so swiftly. But that secret letter still lay hidden in my sleeve. If discovered, forget the Chen clan, even my cousin, the carpenter toiling in the palace, and I would lose our heads. At that moment, I deeply regretted it. During the master's lectures, I'd been too busy playing with my jump rope to pay attention to the art of war. Now, even if my grandfather's military strategies came to mind, they'd be useless. Chen Jingyan toyed with a strand of hair by my ear, letting out a cold laugh. If the imperial guards find anything, it's a crime punishable by confiscation of property and extermination of the entire clan. A chill ran through my body, my teeth chattering in terror. Zhi Zhi and the young lady are betrothed. Husband and wife must stand together through life and death. His slender fingers pressed against my neck, his tone laced with threat. If Zhi Zhi dies, the young lady must not live alone. Chen Jingyan placed his finger on my lips, hissing softly, no explanations. Send the lady on her way first. Zhi Zhi will follow shortly. The situation was dire. My partner seemed to have lost his mind. Stupid brain, think. My eyes suddenly lit up as I pulled the secret letter from my sleeve. I shoved it into my mouth in a flash. Chewing, I rolled my eyes. Too much drama. The moment the imperial guards burst in, I let out a long, satisfied burp. They turned the Chen residence upside down, yet returned empty-handed. Their robes flapped with a thunderous clatter. With the imperial guards searching, the banquet couldn't continue. Guests began departing in small groups. I stepped out alone. My cousin Su Qingjin waved from the carriage. "Ji, over here." He helped me aboard. No sooner had I sat than he picked up his engraving knife, chatting while his hands never stopped. "Ji, I heard the imperial guards raided the Chen residence. You were at their banquet, so I rushed over. You weren't scared, were you?" I gulped down 3 cups of tea before my stomach settled. Hearing this, I shook my head gently. My feelings toward my cousin were complicated. My eldest aunt was the most favored woman in the palace, and my cousin was the first imperial prince. Had my family not been mere bean curd vendors, he could have even become crown prince. After the Chen clan's exile, rumors of my reputation as a husband killer spread like wildfire. My cousin and my aunt pitted me. My cousin knelt before the imperial court for 3 days and nights before finally securing an imperial decree granting our marriage. After we wed, my cousin never took another wife. He was the best husband anyone could ask for. Alas, fate is cruel. Brothers in the imperial family, even without striving, they still compete. My cousin, a lazy prince who only studied wood, was dragged into palace intrigues. Unsurprisingly, he lost. I sighed. Su Qingjin raised an eyebrow, signaling me not to fret. Rest assured. If Chen Jingyan won't do, my cousin will find you Chen Jingyan or Sun Jingyan. I'll plead with Father Emperor. 3-legged toads may be hard to find, but 2-legged men? That's a different story. If all else fails, we'll just swap him out. A cold laugh echoed from outside the carriage as Chen Jingyan lifted the curtain, his face stretched into a long frown. Your Highness needn't worry, we're getting along just fine. More nonsense. We're barely acquainted across 2 lifetimes. Racked with guilt, I dismissed my cousin and let Chen Jingyan escort me home. The carriage pulled up at the gate. Chen Jingyan sat motionless on the brocade cushion. My impatience boiled over. I lifted my skirt to leave. Chen Jingyan rested his head against the carriage window. If I lowered my gaze slightly, I could see the broad, imposing view. My face flushed crimson, my tongue tied in knots. What are you doing? Chen Jingyan plucked a withered leaf from my hairpin, his smile laden with meaning. I can't wait to marry you. Zhi Zhi, in life you are mine, in death you are my spirit. The calamities of my past life had been averted, and I breathed a deep sigh of relief. Confined within the mansion, I gathered my father's concubines for 2 tables of mahjong, playing until the world faded from view. Chen Jingyan took the imperial examinations at the start of the year, sweeping all 3 top ranks. Parading through the streets on horseback, he basked in glorious triumph. The invitations from girls my age grew fewer and fewer, if I'm being blunt. Had I not remembered my past life, I might even have envied myself. After joining the Hanlin Academy, he'd occasionally write poems for me and even took up carpentry like my cousin. Holding 2 dolls, my face crumpled into a frown. People truly cannot empathize with their former selves. When I gave Chen Jingyan that crudely made pouch, I never imagined receiving these 2 hideous trinkets in return. Chen Jingyan even hung the pouch at his waist, truly the mark of a man destined for greatness. The Chen family's marriage proposals arrived in relentless succession. Word spread that Chen Jingyan handled affairs with remarkable skill. The emperor intended to bestow rewards upon him, but Chen Jingyan instead petitioned the imperial workshop to create a phoenix crown and ceremonial robes tailored just for me. Rumor had it he sold calligraphy and paintings at the bookshop, using the proceeds to add 66 more pieces to my dowry. I heard Chen Jingyan renovated the courtyard and personally built a swing, just in case the bride grows bored in her new home. Such a deeply devoted man, how many young ladies must have torn their handkerchiefs in despair? I always suspected something fishy. Household slaves from prominent families are as tight-lipped as clamshells. How could news of Chen Jingyan's every move leak out? It almost seemed like a show for outsiders. A chill ran down my spine, and I sighed with worry. But I still want to call off the engagement. Then, in Jiangnan, I'll find a sturdy young man. I'll handle asking father and mother for the silver. He'll handle sword dancing bare-chested in the courtyard. Far from the capital's turmoil, we'd be wealthy idlers. But now, forget others, even my most doting mother, upon learning I wanted to break off the engagement, would summon a shaman to perform rituals. I sighed again. Forget it. I can't wrap my head around such complicated matters. Things are what they are. Let's eat first. The night curfew lifts for Dragon Boat Festival. Soon, the whole street will be aglow with beautiful lanterns. I tidied myself, slipped into my finest gown, and stepped out to admire the lanterns. The official road bustled with figures, one like a jade gentleman clad in azure robes. The wind lifted his hairband as he turned with a soft smile. Even the most hard-hearted woman would pause for him. He said, "Zhi Zhi, what a coincidence." All eyes instantly turned to me. I tried to suppress a smile, but my lips still curved upward. Chen Jingyan took my hand and led me step by step up the city tower. The view from the heights was breathtaking, and I couldn't help but gasp softly. Chen Jingyan asked casually, "Zhi Zhi, would you marry me?" My body trembled. I tried to pull my hand away from his grasp, but he held it tighter. I laughed awkwardly and leaned back. "Let's talk about it later." Later. Chen Jingyan raised his voice, his eyes glistening. "Why later? We've been betrothed for 4 years. I've even entered the imperial court as an official. Why must we discuss it again? Are you planning to abandon me after leading me on? A beauty shedding tears, how pitiful." I felt the condemning stares of the crowd, accusing me of being a wicked woman, and broke out in a cold sweat. We're not meant for each other anyway. It's better to call off the engagement sooner rather than later, I muttered under my breath. Not meant for each other? Chen Jingyan chuckled. Ningguda lies 3,000 li from the capital. I walked for 3 full years. He drew near, his breath tickling my earlobe, sending a tingling sensation through me. My eyes widened, my heart pounding wildly. Robbed by bandits, beaten by beggars, I clung to life itself, crawling back to the capital during the Lantern Festival. But what were you doing? You were happily admiring the lanterns, clinging to Su Qingjian's arm. Everyone below praised you as a perfect match, a heavenly pair. Yet why must your deep affection be paid for with the flesh and blood of my Chen clan? Chen Jingyan advanced step by step, cornering me against the wall. The faint yellow lantern light fell upon Chen Jingyan's trembling shoulders, like a jade mountain crumbling. He gave a cold laugh, his hands wrapping around my neck, squeezing my windpipe. Is this truly unworthiness, or is it that you, Zhi Zhi, harbor guilt in your heart from your past life? Chen Jingyan had also been reborn. The shock this news brought me was no less than my useless cousin suddenly deciding to seize the throne. It was utterly preposterous. No wonder the old emperor had been lingering on his deathbed lately, this never happened in my past life. I returned to the mansion in a daze. Chen Jingyan even exchanged pleasantries with my parents for a while, playing the perfect son-in-law. Watching Chen Jingyan exchange smiles and pleasantries, and my parents looking like they'd hit the jackpot. I felt like the sky had fallen. Mother even urged Chen Jingyan to speak with me again, practically desperate to deliver this cabbage to his hands overnight. I pressed my hand to my forehead and smiled bitterly. After Chen Jingyan returned to the capital in the previous life, he crushed any opposition in his path. All who framed the Chen clan were beheaded, while those who rubbed salt in the wound had their families confiscated and were exiled. He crushed eggs to scatter their yolks, sliced earthworms lengthwise, and kicked every passing dog. Those who refused to beg for mercy were cut down, and those who begged were cut down too. As the one who wounded him deepest. How many lives would suffice for him to take? No time to waste, for the sake of my own skin, I'd better make a run for it. Mother giggled at Chen Jingyan's teasing. Zhi Zhi, my good-for-nothing daughter, besides being uneducated, scatterbrained, and obsessed with handsome young men, has no other faults. Father jabbed Mother with his elbow, his glare nearly piercing through the ceiling. Chen Jingyan chuckled softly, his gaze lingering with tenderness. Zhi Zhi understands. My whole body shuddered. It felt like being haunted by a ghost. Chen Jingyan escorted me to my door, glancing inside with a sudden sharpness in his expression. He touched my elbow, his smile sending shivers down my spine. Zhi Zhi, the night grows deep and the dew heavy. Rest early. I nodded repeatedly. Like hell I would. After dismissing him, I picked up the half-packed bundle on the table and stuffed several silver notes inside. The table was piled high with jewelry. This set of gold hairpins was personally delivered by Chen Jingyan. This set of Hitian jade hair ornaments was bought when Chen Jingyan took me shopping. Even the most expensive gold arm bracelet was sent by Chen Jingyan through an intermediary. My conscience ached faintly. I pinned the gold hairpins all over my head and sent the maid Fugui to secretly hail a carriage at the side gate. Fugui looked utterly bewildered. Miss, are you running away from your wedding? What's wrong with Master Chen? I choked on my words. How could I explain it to you? Anyway, that's how it is, that's the situation, I replied distractedly, tilting my head slightly, half radiant, half sorrowful. May you never understand what it means to be mismatched. A carriage stood parked on the path, gilded and adorned with colorful patterns, quite luxurious. Once I find myself a sturdy husband in Jiangnan, I'll bring you over to be my head housekeeper. I lifted the curtain and scrambled up, practically rolling my way inside. A pair of slightly cool hands helped me up, and I thanked them repeatedly. Suddenly sensing something was off, I jerked my head up. Chen Jingyan stood there in his wedding attire, his gaze deep and intense. A sturdy husband? Zhi Zhi, have I ever told you that in this lifetime, you can only be my wife? The Chen clan demanded its descendants cultivate virtue, abstain from lust, and practice self-restraint. Living like monks in a temple. Chen Jingyan usually wore pale robes, but now, in his vibrant red wedding attire, his handsome face made me stumble. I slapped my cheeks, trying to snap out of it. What are you saying, my lord? I don't quite understand, heh. Chen Jingyan casually let his robe fall open, revealing a broad chest. My eyes widened instantly. So big! The world says scholars are useless, that bookish men sound weak and frail, incapable of lifting a finger. I'd assumed Chen Jingyan was merely slender as a bamboo shoot, but beneath his brocade robe lay such breathtaking scenery. My mouth gaped open, my mind and eyes filled entirely with this man. Chen Jingyan curved his lips, scooped me up, and bounced me lightly on his abs before pulling my hand beneath his robe. I covered my face, peeking through my fingers as my eyes fixated on his waist. Chen Jingyan let out a soft gasp. Strong enough? I wiped away drool and nodded frantically. Chen Jingyan coaxed me gently. Zhi Zhi, marry me. I'll show you something even more amazing, okay? I yanked my hand away warily. Thanks, but no thanks. Between a man and a dog's life, I knew which mattered more. Chen Jingyan's hair fell loosely around him, like a soul-stealing, enchanting specter. He stared at me fixedly, his hands trembling uncontrollably. Why? Everyone else is fine, but I'm not. Su Qingjin's only good at carpentry, dumb as a board, Xin Qing stuffy and boring, plus he's a widower. Even Lu Erdu, the dock porter, gets your smile. How am I worse than them? You're willing to be kind to other men, but why won't you give me a shred of pity? I wiggled my hips, but Chen Jingyan held me tighter. I see. Once they're dead, you'll be mine. Chen Jingyan's legs were so hard they pressed painfully into me. I truly wronged you in my past life, I pleaded earnestly, but be reasonable. If my family had such scheming minds, we wouldn't have all perished. Gazing into Chen Jingyan's icy stare, I steeled myself to plead, for the wrongs of the past life, I'll be your ox or horse in the next. Our marriage is like a flower planted in cow dung. Why sacrifice so much for revenge, Chen? Do you think I'm nothing but a fart? Just let me go? Chen Jingyan gave no clear answer, only a derisive snort. You speak so lightly, young lady. He watched my horrified expression, enunciating each word deliberately. You Chanji, in this life and the next, you cannot escape my grasp. Darkness flooded my vision. I knew I'd wronged him. But hunting me down like this was excessive. Still, I had to try defending myself. Let me explain. Go on. My voice grew faint. You know my writing's poor, my handwriting awful. I dared not show you my love letters, so I asked Lady Lu to polish them. Never imagined. I never imagined politicians had such filthy hearts. Never imagined the letter contained treasonous words. Chen Jingyan remained perfectly composed, his smile stabbing my conscience like a dagger. Then why call off the engagement? My face flushed crimson as I glared at him. Your Chen family's reputation outshines even the emperor's. If you've got the guts, take it to the Golden Hall. Why pick on a useless good-for-nothing like me? It's fine. After all, I'm not one to hold grudges. Just as I lifted the corners of my mouth, Chen Jingyan spoke again. I know full well you weren't the mastermind behind this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here before me. But that letter? It was definitely placed by you. But you must marry me to atone for your sin. Otherwise, the Yu family. Chen Jingyan's threat hung heavy in the air. Even I, as dim-witted as I am, understood. Panic seized me. After a long, labored breath, I finally managed to spit out, "Don't you dare harm my parents. I'll marry you." Chen Jingyan chuckled. His cool fingers lifted the hem of my skirt. His slow, deliberate movements forced me to stumble backward. He gripped my waist firmly, pinning me in place. I gasped softly and bit down on his shoulder. Chen Jingyan made my knees weak, yet his expression remained utterly unflinching. He kissed away the tear at my temple, his fingers pressing down firmly. How am I? I was about to meet my great-grandmother. What was there to compare? How do I compare to those bitches? I was furious enough to bite him to death. Seeing his amused expression, I grudgingly praised his robust vigor and astonishing strength. Only then did Chen Jingyan release me. He picked up a handkerchief and leisurely wiped his fingers. My wife, Chen Jingyan's wife, needn't be a literary genius, skilled in music, chess, calligraphy, or painting. As long as it's her, anything is fine. I blinked, belatedly realizing he was complimenting me, but I was fine just as I was. A flicker of embarrassment and delight stirred within me, like finding gold on the ground. I couldn't help but chuckle softly. Chen Jingyan smoothed my skirt hem, his cool gaze fixed on me. You've made advances toward me, now you must take responsibility. If you let some wild man lure you away again, watch out, I'll break your legs. Of course, I wasn't afraid of Chen Jingyan's threats. Who was my aunt? The favored consort who reigned supreme in the imperial harem. Who was my cousin? The crown prince of the imperial family. Obeying my fiancé wasn't being henpecked, it was respect. After returning home, Chen Jingyan chose an auspicious date, personally bringing a matchmaker and fortune-teller to set the wedding date. He didn't give me a chance to delay. Mother ordered me to stay home and study etiquette and needlework diligently. Not to transform completely, but at least not to embarrass myself. Mother beamed like a weasel that had stolen a chicken, while I sighed in despair. Mother, your daughter isn't marrying a husband, she's marrying a creditor. I paced anxiously at home, and Fugue, worried too, urged me to go out and clear my mind. At the bookstore, I encountered my former husband from my past life, Chen Qing. Chen Qing sat before the bookstore, running a stall where he wrote letters for passers-by. By the end of the day, he earned only a few dozen copper coins. Barely enough to fill his belly. Chen Qing and I met a year after I became the prince's consort. He possessed extraordinary talent but came from a poor family. After passing the provincial exams, his first wife fell gravely ill. She required costly, precious herbs to sustain her life, demanding constant care. My cousin took me out sightseeing and saw the scholar whose robe was so worn it was frayed. Moved by pity, he emptied his pockets, giving him every last coin. Chen Qing's first wife clung to life for another year. She passed away peacefully only after he passed the provincial examination. After my cousin's failed palace coup, he wrote me a letter of divorce. That's how I survived. But my parents were already dead, and my eldest aunt had died of grief. I had no way to go on living. It was Chen Jingyan who, disregarding his own career prospects, resolutely took me as his wife. Had he not squandered too much in his early years, succumbing to illness from overwork and dying in office, I might have lived out my days peacefully as the mistress of a minor official's household. Recalling my past life, I couldn't help but sigh deeply once more. I slipped the 5,000 taels I'd prepared long ago into a pouch and handed it to Chen Jingyan. His face flushed crimson as he waved it away. "Miss, you mustn't. I have a wife, this is improper." I pressed the pouch firmly into his hands. "Take it. My sister-in-law needs ginseng, and you're preparing for the imperial examinations. At such a critical juncture, there's no need for formalities." Fearing he might cling to outdated notions, I added gently, "If you truly feel uncomfortable, you can repay me gradually over time." Chen Jingyan stroked the pouch, his face filled with deep gratitude. I hurriedly stopped him from bowing. "No refusal allowed, this is a request from an old friend." A voice suddenly cut in. It echoed in a strangely insistent tone. "No refusal allowed, this is the late gentleman's request." Chen Jingyan's clothes were disheveled, as if he'd rushed over. A dagger still hung at his waist. He swept Chen Jingyan's hand aside and forcefully wedged himself between us. "May I ask, sir?" Chen Jingyan replied politely, "This humble scholar is a provincial graduate from Hebei, class of Jiamao. May I ask who you are?" Chen Jingyan looked down on him with a dismissive air. "I am Chen Jingyan, this year's top scholar." He emphasized each word deliberately, "and this young lady's fiancé." Chen Jingyan, still confused by the situation, looked around awkwardly. The young lady and I merely crossed paths. I wouldn't dare harbor any improper thoughts. Chen Jingyan tapped his sword scabbard rhythmically, snorting coldly at the remark. "That's best." Chen Jingyan looked at me helplessly. "Miss, shall I return this pouch?" Chen Jingyan snorted again, blocking Chen Jingyan's view. A mere few thousand taels? Not even enough to buy her a single set of head ornaments. "Keep it. I'm a few months older than you, so take this advice, stop flirting with innocent girls, you unprincipled scoundrel." My toes dug into the ground. Before Chen Jingyan could react, I grabbed Chen Jingyan and ran. Only when we were out of sight did I bend down, panting heavily as I demanded, "What are you doing?" Chen Jingyan's eyes were bloodshot with fury. He snarled back, "He seduced you first. His wife is still alive, yet he flaunts his charms outside, and I can't even speak out against him. You Chanji, do you still pine for him? Do you want to rekindle your old flame? Let me tell you, that's impossible. I'll tear you two apart with a stick." My eyes widened. Where there's a will, there's a way to frame someone. I, Yu Chanji, am a woman of integrity. When I choose a man, I love him exclusively. If I grow tired of him, I move on to the next. I'm not some flighty woman. In my past life, he was an upright official and my friend. Helping a friend in need is only natural. I felt utterly justified, my voice rising without my noticing. Besides, he treated me well. I hadn't been promoted for years. Even if this was repayment, he had every right to accept the money. Chen Jingyan gave a bitter smile. Just 3 days. Just 3 days. When the crown prince met his end in my past life, I was in Lingnan. I rode 6 horses to death just to make it back in time. He clenched his fists tightly. But when I finally reached the capital, I learned you'd married Chen Jingyan. Just 3 days too late. Ha! How could I tell him that in my past life, I personally caused his exile and publicly annulled our engagement? After my cousin's accident, I was too afraid you'd kick him while he was down. How could I possibly marry you? I gave a dry laugh. You never said you cared for me, and I never imagined. Chen Jingyan's face turned ashen. He spat out one last sentence. I never imagined you never cared about me either. I'll never let you have your way again. If you wish to break the engagement, Jingji will not stand in your way. He turned and walked away, his retreating figure desolate, radiating utter defeat. His threats from days past still rang in my ears, sending a sudden chill down my spine. After hesitating for a long moment, I called out to him. Chen Jingyan's face was a mask of suppressed emotion, his features taut and rigid. "Lady, what is your command?" Seeing his ashen, lifeless expression, I couldn't help but feel a pang of pity. I stood on tiptoe, but still couldn't reach him. I could only order Chen Jingyan to bend down. Chen Jingyan obediently bent over, his face turning ashen. Summoning my courage, I cupped his face and kissed him lightly. Chen Jingyan's eyes widened. My survival instinct kicked in. What nonsense about red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple? I'm too busy doting on my fiancé to care about some random dog or cat. In my past life, you never once said you loved me. I thought you resented this marriage. Then my cousin met with an accident, and my aunt and parents passed away. I was starving and freezing, I had no choice. Chen Jingyan's expression remained unreadable as he snapped at me coldly. When have I ever treated you poorly? Couldn't you have waited just a few days? I kept smiling, not because I was inclined to, but because I was truly at a loss. Grabbing his collar before he could dig up more old grievances, I planted 10 quick pecks on his lips. All right, all right. Isn't this to avoid karmic debt? Giving him 5,000 taels this lifetime repays the kindness he showed me back then. Then this connection can be severed. Chen Jingyan's eyes lit up, but he turned his face away with a cold snort. It's not enough. I tilted my head in confusion. He muttered sullenly, not enough. I want more. I laughed in exasperation. If Chen Lingjun is truly angry, go to the Yu mansion and call off the engagement. A head lost is just a bull-sized scar. Sis's done serving. Chen Jingyan hoisted me up in one swift motion and carried me to the small courtyard. Terrified, I kicked wildly with my legs, nearly kneeling to call him grandfather. A man who could become the chief minister was truly terrifying. After holding back for so long, had he finally decided to strike? Chen Jingyan washed his hands in the copper basin, radiating a calm madness. I huddled in the corner of the bed, trembling uncontrollably. Kneeling beside the bed, Chen Jingyan wore a gentle smile. The news of your marriage to the crown prince reached me the moment I arrived in Ningguda. I tried to flee back, only to be flogged 30 times by the guards. I nearly didn't survive that winter. As I clung to life on that straw mat, I couldn't help but wonder. His lips brushed my ankle, his long fingers tracing patterns. Would he touch you like this? Would he cherish you like this? Would he bring you joy? He leaned closer. On the day I was reborn, I wanted to kill you. But I couldn't bring myself to do it. I couldn't bear to. Zhi Zhi, I love you so much, yet I can't help but hate you. I tensed my toes, unable to stifle a sob. He licked his lips, resting his head on my shoulder with a soft sigh. Only regret that the bright moon does not shine solely upon me. Sleep erased all grievances. I returned home looking utterly exhausted. Mother thought I'd been chasing cats and dogs again, furious enough to grab a stick and chase after me. I waved my hand wearily. Tell her to hurry and prepare for the wedding. Chen Jingyan was desperate to marry, forcing me to sign all sorts of humiliating agreements. The first one was that the wedding date couldn't be delayed. It was truly a headache. Lost in thought, I covered my face and couldn't help but chuckle lewdly. If you knew who my husband was, you'd agree I'm quite fortunate. So we awkwardly prepared for the wedding, with Chen Jingyan occasionally sending over novel trinkets. His letters repeatedly warned me, men outside the estate are like tigers. Even if I went out for a stroll, I had to take him along. Even when he was busy, he insisted on bringing along numerous maids and matrons, surrounding me like a fortress. Too many fleas, no itch. That very night, I penned a 3,000-word treatise urging him to relax. A man should be magnanimous, not prone to petty jealousy. Other people's children needn't be feared, but one's own wife must be cherished. Other men are inns, only you are home. After sending him off, I didn't step outside the mansion gates once. If Chen Jingyan dared sneak into my boudoir, he'd find me ready to beat him to a pulp with my porcelain pillow. Chen Jingyan didn't bother me again. But mother came wielding a feather duster, beating me until I cried for mercy. When mother grew tired, she pulled an invitation from her sleeve. Madame Lu Air invites you to a small banquet. Will you attend? Madame Lu Air, Lu Yuman. The very lady who wrote my letter in my past life. I narrowed my eyes, exchanging a knowing glance with mother. How could I refuse? I said coldly. I must meet her properly. Back at the Lu residence, I wasn't exactly the center of attention, but the servants treated me with respect. Today, though, their every glance and expression dripped with contempt. The maid led me through a maze of twists and turns in the courtyard before we finally found the place. Before I could even sit down, the maid gave me a perfunctory curtsy and hurried off. I suppressed the rage surging within me. Clutching my handkerchief, I bit my lip hard. Whispered voices drifted through the bamboo grove. Young Master Chen, how have you been? Fair enough. I sprang to my feet, slamming my palm against the wall. Lu Yuman's affected voice deliberately rose. Ah, that hurts. Young Master Chen, would you kindly help me up? No. Lu Yuman dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief. If Lady Yu is concerned, then never mind. Minmin can endure the pain for a while. It will pass. But Minmin believes that when a woman marries into her husband's family, she should be gentle and compliant, considerate of her husband, and bear him children to carry on the family line. If she is too jealous, she is unfit to be the matriarch of a great family. Lu Yuman pretended to cover her lips lightly. Have I spoken out of turn? Her eyes brimmed with tears, words lingering on her lips. But Minmin only cares for her husband. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, roughly understanding why Lu Yuman had summoned me. I paced back and forth. I hoped Chen Jingyan wouldn't embarrass me at this critical moment. But after waiting for what felt like an eternity, Chen Jingyan remained silent. Lu Yuman lifted her chin, a triumphant smirk curling her lips. Her mouth opened and closed, mocking my inability to control my man. I blinked. Still, tears streamed down my face. I stormed back home in fury. Damn bastard Chen Jingyan. May you give birth to sons without assholes. I pulled my escape bundle from under the bed and packed everything I intended to take. I grabbed a stack of silver notes, Chen Jingyan's stash of secret money, delivered just days ago. I pulled out a gold hairpin he'd forged himself. Though rougher than a master's work, it was solid gold, every ounce of it, and utterly sincere. I picked up the 2 dolls sitting by the bedside. Chen Jingyan carved them so poorly. He claimed one was me, the other him. I couldn't tell them apart at all. But after looking at them long enough, they grew kind of cute. I plopped down on the floor and burst into wailing sobs. Chen Jingyan, you bastard. Did you do this on purpose? You treated me so well, made me fall for you. Then you just dumped me. This is exactly what the storybooks call the Dragon King's return. I hugged the dolls and wailed. Chen Jingyan set me up. Chen Jingyan, you win. I wanted to smash the wooden doll in my hand. I swung at it several times but couldn't bring myself to do it. All I could do was cry while packing my bags. I resolved that once I reached Jiangnan, I'd get a dog named Chen Jingyan. A cool, large hand wiped the tears from my eyes. The man asked, "Why are you crying?" I shoved him away, slapping him hard. "Get lost!" A rare smile touched Chen Jingyan's face. "I won't go. I'll cling to you forever." I planted my hands on my hips and spat venomously. Pfft. Go cling to your Lu sister, your Hui sister, your Song sister. I couldn't care less about you. Chen Jingyan's smile grew so wide it hurt my eyes. I lowered my head, unwilling to let him see my disheveled state. Chen Jingyan turned his head, peering up at me from below. You really are crying? Furious, I grabbed the porcelain pillow from the bed and hurled it at him. Chen Jingyan nodded. Looks like you really are crying. Zhi Zhi, are you jealous? Does that mean you love me too? I looked up in disbelief, only to find Chen Jingyan's eyes crinkling with amusement. Suddenly realizing something, my scalp nearly exploded with rage. Chen Jingyan, you did this on purpose, didn't you? Chen Jingyan blinked innocently. Your words, my dear, are beyond my comprehension. You knew I was here, so you deliberately stayed silent to make me jealous and humiliate me, didn't you? Yes, I was blind to fall for you. I admit it. I misjudged you, Chen Jingyan. We're calling off the engagement. Chen Jingyan's lips curved slightly. His hand tightened around my waist as he flatly refused. Impossible. Seeing my genuine anger, he kissed me sweetly to appease me. I didn't know Second Lady Lu specifically summoned you. In my past life, wasn't the entire Lu clan executed after the autumn harvest? How could I possibly conspire with them? I just discovered the sixth prince might have instigated Second Lady Lu, so I wanted to visit Lord Lu to see if I could uncover any clues. Madame Lu's sudden appearance startled even me. I sneered coldly, I'll beat you to death. Beat me all you want. I'll let you beat me, and I'll let you beat our future children too, he mused for a long moment. Just do it out of sight of the elders. Afterwards, I'll kneel in the ancestral hall for you. I seized the moment. Separate bedrooms after marriage. Chen Jingyan leapt to his feet. Don't even think about it. Not even separate beds. He paced back and forth, discussing it earnestly with me. After marriage, 3 times daily is mandatory. No way. 3 times a month. Then once a day. Agreed. Chen Jingyan beamed with an exceptionally bright smile. I chewed over our exchange, my face flushing scarlet. Chen Jingyan. You bastard. You Chanji, I am fond of you. Stop tickling me, stop. Chen Jingyan, I am fond of you too. The story concludes. Thank you for reading. The next installment will be even more thrilling.